Hello, everyone. Now, I'm still working with the Ambassador Olivier Poivre d'Arvor and involved in the preparation of the UNOC, United Nations Ocean Conference in June 2025. So with Bertrand Barrette and the One Planet Summit, we are organizing these 3 days dedicated to the poles and the cryosphere with the eminent specialists and experts from France and around the world. And our session is really the only one that links up the poles, the oceans, and the cryosphere. So let's have some housekeeping details while waiting for Christian Estrosi, Mr. Béchu, and Olivier Poivre d'Arvor. Ambassador Poivre d'Arvor was being interviewed.
Sciences from India. Oui, on peut l'applaudir. Il a fait tout le chemin jusqu'ici. It's very important for us, as I was saying, in this moment where India and France, President Macron and Prime Minister Modi are really converging in global affairs, and especially with the environment. Your presence means a lot for us. So just few words of housekeeping before we request President Romain Troublet of Ocean and Climate Platform to start this meeting. There'll be 3 sequences, basically, Romain. The first one is an introduction by Romain Troublet of the work of Ocean Climate Platform, 4 recommendations based on 1.5 years of work of this 3 years of this program called Cities, hosted by and directed by Ocean and Climate Platform. Director General here of the platform, Laurelle Picourt, is with us. Merci, Laurelle. And Théo Phil, who has worked a lot on this topic. So we have invited 4 eminent speakers to deliver their recommendations. And following that, we enter into the second sequence, and we're very happy to have eminent scientists from the World Meteorological Organization, l'Organisation Mondiale de la Météorologie, who will share with us their own insights, their alerts, and also maybe instruments which can help us think of the future. And the future is what? That's a third sequence with the mayor of Nice, who's been mandated by the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, to launch a new coalition. So the coalition is not created today. The vision is shared today of the creation of this coalition, which would land in Nice in June 2025 with, we hope, a lot of cities, a lot of coastal regions, and also islands into this new geographies and this new kind of collaborations and coalitions based on the work that Ocean and Climate Platform has done, based on the work of different UN agencies and many eminent actors in this field, including India, we hope. And that's the reason why Christophe Béchu, the Minister for Ecological Transition, will be with us for the conclusion, and he's arriving. That's why also Christian Estrosi would be launching this vision, and we'll request from Honorable Minister from India to share your own insight. India has 7,500 kilometers of coastal area. Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And 9 coastal states. And we really hope to engage in the perspective of the UN Ocean Conference. I think I've said everything, and I can go now.
You can leave if you want. It's done. The event is done. Thank you, Ashok. Should I start?
Ouais.
Thank you, Ashok, and thank you all for being here. Mesdames et messieurs, I will speak in French. Mesdames et messieurs, chers et chers internautes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President of the Regional Council of the South Region, Mr. Christian Estrosi, will join us in a few moments. Minister of Science and Earth, Kiran Rijiju, thank you very much, sir, for being with us. And we are going to take a look at the video, at the film, right away. And we will welcome Ambassador Poivre d'Arvor in a few minutes. So this is an alliance of cities and regions faced with the direct consequences of climate change, the melting of ice, and global warming. However, some scientists do fear that there'll be some irreversible impacts and the loss of the cryosphere. By 2050, more than 1 billion of human beings will be faced with these worsened situations, and to react and to cope with this threat, more than 40 large coastal cities have decided to unite. And this is the program Cities, or CITIES. And the coalition, Ocean Rise and Resilience, will bring together these cities. It will continue to expand and will lead to the conference organized in June 2025 in Nice under the auspices of the United Nations.
Maybe we'll play it again after this louder and maybe with English. Romain.
I will ask to come on stage with me the four first speakers of this first session. Françoise Guy, Fabrice Bernard, Maïna Sage, please. Ulrike de Coen. Come with me. We will sit behind the table, Davos format. Bonjour à toutes, mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Je me présente, je m'appelle Romain Troublé, je suis directeur général de la Fondation Tara, mais aussi président de la plateforme Océan Climat. Plateforme Océan Climat, qui est une organisation qui a été créée pour la COP21, pour plaider la place de l'océan dans les enjeux climatiques, et qui regroupe aujourd'hui plus de 110 entités dans le monde entier. En France, bien sûr, mais aussi ailleurs, dans pas mal de pays, beaucoup de pays. Et j'ai l'honneur d'être président de cette plateforme depuis 6 ans, avec une équipe formidable, dirigée par Lorella Epicourt, qui est ici à ma droite. Et aussi accompagné de nombreux vice-présidents qui m'accompagnent, notamment Françoise Gaille ou Patricia Ricard dans la salle. Chères et chers intervenantes, Monsieur le Président du Conseil régional de la région Sud... Non, c'est pas ça. Mauvaise note. Mais c'est pareil. C'est pas faux. Maire de la ville de Nice, Christian Estrosi, bienvenue, merci d'être là aujourd'hui. Monsieur le ministre des Sciences de la Terre, de l'Inde, Monsieur Kiren Rijiju, merci d'avoir fait le déplacement ici à Paris. Je crois qu'on peut tous vous applaudir. Monsieur l'ambassadeur pour les pôles et les enjeux maritimes, Olivier Poivre d'Arvor. Monsieur le ministre de la Transition écologique, Christophe Béchu, merci d'avoir fait le déplacement aussi. Son Altesse le Prince Albert de Monaco qui devait nous rejoindre, qui va pas tarder à arriver, j'espère. Chers amis les journalistes, ici dans la salle il y a une trentaine de journalistes et merci d'être venus. Ce n'est pas un format de journaliste classique, mais vous êtes là quand même, online et ici en présentiel. Chers amis tout court, chers amis online et ici. Je voudrais aussi remercier les équipes de le One Planet Summit, derrière Paul Bertrand Barès qui anime cette One Planet Polar Summit. Bravo. Ça a été fait dans une seringue en 4 mois. Bravo, c'est là qu'on est créatif. Le cabinet du ministre de la Transition écologique, merci d'avoir accompagné ce projet et cette session ce matin. Et bien sûr les équipes de la plateforme Océan Climat, notamment Théophile et Lisa et Sarah qui ont beaucoup travaillé sur ce projet depuis longtemps. Alors on ne va pas faire un état des lieux de la situation, je crois que beaucoup de gens d'entre vous ici ont compris. Hier a été une journée très marquante par des constats scientifiques très lourds. L'urgence est là, on est au pied du mur, si c'est encore le cas. Et bien sûr on va parler aujourd'hui d'adaptation, Mais l'enjeu est aussi d'abord et surtout de s'intéresser à l'atténuation du changement climatique et à bien de limiter le changement global, notamment limiter l'usage d'énergies fossiles à très court terme désormais. Ne soyons pas bipolaires, soyons bien focalisés sur à la fois l'enjeu.
And we want to focus on the reduction of emissions and what is the major challenges. Now, IPCC has issued a special report on oceans and cryospheres, and now the platform with cities, the POC with platforms, has decided to call the attention on this high priority challenge, i.e. the sea level rise, see what science can tell us, and also come up with viable and sustainable solutions. We've worked with CNRS in a multidisciplinary approach to see what sort of solutions can be proposed and share best practices, and it's a map of solutions. It's important to identify the right sort of solutions, and 5 regional workshops in La Rochelle, Marseille, Santa Cruz in California, Dakar, and Nadi in the Fiji Islands. 240 participants in these cities participated in these workshops with hundreds of suggestions to adapt our coastal cities to climate change. And there's also a special report by IPCC on cities and climate change that is about to be issued in the years to come, and it's going to be a wonderful support for this coalition. So today, this is an advocacy for political recommendations with 4 top priorities based on what the coastal mayors tell us, whether they are in large or small cities faced with sea level rise. 40 partners drafted this report, supported by many organizations. The 6 continents were represented. We also worked with scientific organizations, with networks of cities such as IAVP, also insurance companies. And I would like to thank Eric Decaune, who is Chief Sustainability, Brand and Communication for the AXA Group, also conservation stakeholders, legal entities, NGOs, the civil society representatives, whom I'd like to thank. Now, we'd like to thank the organizations, the foundations that supported us financially, the Fondation de France, the foundation from Prince Albert Monaco, Veolia, 2 states, the Monaco and the United States Embassy in France, and the Institut Paul Ricard. They've accompanied us over these 3 past years. Now, our roundtable is about to start to introduce 4 top priorities in our advocacy. Fabrice Bernard is going to tell us about the key focus 1. He's a European International Delegation official for coastal conservation. Then we'll listen to Maina Sage, a member of the CT Steering Committee, former Minister of Tourism and Environment, former French Member of Parliament for French Polynesia. Françoise Gall, who's President of the Ocean Sustainability Foundations and Vice Chair of POC. And Eric Decaune, who is going to tell us about the financial model based on solidarity and adapted to coastal cities. And she's Chief Sustainability, Brand and Communication for the AXA Group and President of ORRAA, the Ocean Risk and Resilience Alliance. So let me give the floor to Fabrice. Each one of you has 5 minutes to tell us about the key focus. So, working for flexible coastline management, that's the key focus 1. Fabrice, over to you. Thank you very much, Romain. Thank you very much for this invitation to introduce the some of these solutions. I'm international delegate for the Coastal Conservation Committee. And now the Coastal Conservation Organization is very much involved because 13% of the territories in France and overseas are owned by the Coastal Conservation Organization. And we're faced with climate change consequences not only along the coastline, but also in urban and rural areas. As a delegate, I have a privileged viewpoint of what coastal cities do, coastal stakeholders. And usually there are three types of reactions. Either people just make do with this, and of course, make do is something which is most of the time associated with a form of denial, though, of course, we're faced with the direct consequences of climate change every day, but there's a lack of means, lack of financial support, or lack of political will, let alone to apply the existing legislation, such as preventing the theft of sand or the new build along the coastline. So just this sort of laissez-faire approach is very detrimental. The second type of reaction is to try and fight against climate change with hard protection, and sometimes indeed you need grey infrastructure to protect the cities while coming up with another solution, more flexible solution. But this hard protection, of course, is most of the time doomed to failure because of the sea level rise, because of the marine intrusions, and therefore it's a fight you can't win. And we are faced with all these aggressions, and also there's a lack of means, and it's very difficult to fight with these hard protection systems. And so, therefore, we need to come up with the third type of reaction, i.e. anticipate, preempt what is likely to happen, and adapt the coastal cities and make them able to be resilient. I'm not going to describe the various solutions that are suggested. Anticipating means that you stop the theft of sand that is observed everywhere in the world. Also put a halt to illegal constructions, also put a halt to the destruction of the various buffer zones that can help us to prevent marine intrusions. It also means that legally and officially you put a halt to the installation of infrastructure in high-risk areas. You know that there is a coastal legislation in France that prevents constructions over a strip of 100 meters wide along the coastline. But we think that it's not only 100 meters that we need 100 years without any constructions along the coastline. We need also to come up with soft protection based, nature-based soft solutions, so as to avoid grey infrastructure, to have green area buffer zones, whereby some activities, economic activities such as grazing or tourism, could be maintained for the benefit of local communities. It also means that we need to protect natural areas and areas without constructions, farming areas, rescue these ecosystems. We know that wetlands or mangroves are very much under threat around the world, so we need to protect them. We need to make sure that they are restored. We need also to have a long-term planning with a dynamic approach. we need to be to project ourselves in the future. And I think that the Coastal Conservation Organization is very important. And we do own 13% of the French coastline. And it's a wonderful tool to adapt our coastline and have dynamic planning strategies. We need also to have a relocation strategy and try and see how we can reorganize our cities and be cautious, make sure that we do not harm biodiversity. When there is relocation, it shouldn't be at the expense of biodiversity. We need to see what can be done and avoid having this expansion of cities in the hinterland. Two further points, and I think I've come to the end of the time that is allotted to me. There are 36,000 municipalities in France, and some of these municipalities are very small. So we need to find the right level of action with bringing together several municipalities, working with scientists, and trying to focus on a type of future that is desirable for local communities. Climate change is a constraint, but it should be turned into an opportunity, and we should resort to some collective or collaborative tools to make sure that the sort of future we design is something that we can wish for and is not something that we can't escape. Main message, the key focus too is social justice and placing justice and equity at the heart of adaptation policies. Hello, everyone. Now, the feedback we have from the 3 past years shows that in some cases, some populations, some communities are more vulnerable faced with climate change. So we really need to take into account the sort of the sort of communities impacted by climate change. Obviously, if the community is on an island or in a remote area in the mountains, for instance, well, this of course has a bearing on how or the level of vulnerability for these communities. So climate change doesn't mean the same thing depending on where you are in the world. Now, with the CITES program, the focus is led on social justice. Obviously, we need to take this notion of social justice into account, avoid climate gentrification, which is a phenomenon that can be observed. Coastline, the coastal areas are very often associated with very high real estate prices, which means that sometimes the local communities can't even benefit from the relocation policies and have to leave the area and are replaced by others. So our adaptation policies should bear that in mind and should benefit the local communities.
So how do we do that? We integrate them as much as possible within our strategies from the get-go, and it has to go further than just consultations. What we want with cities is to have the communities be involved in the decision-making from the very beginning of the design of those strategies. So communities in all their shapes and forms, whether it's civil society, private interest, authorities, we want to have strategies that are co-designed among everyone that also protect traditional ways of lives, protect employment, and that can be sustainable in time. We want to set strategies that will last. We can sometimes implement strategies for the short term to fight against crisis, but then we want a more longer term vision as well. And then we also want a large vision at the local level. We want to have more of a regional perspective, because sometimes neighboring regions have suffered from the same impacts, and so together we can be stronger. So our report highlights all of these issues, and I encourage you to read it. And we recognize that when we imply and involve and engage all the actors, then we are stronger. And another island state like Fiji has a great example of this, and I encourage you to look into it. And so in the end, we find common strategies no matter where we are. What is important is to take into account all the actors and to act together to be efficient and to be able to defend social justice. And I want to conclude on that, Romain, because I think this issue really has its legitimate place here in this debate, because we are in the framework of the Peace Summit, and I often say that there's no peace without justice. So talking about social justice, when we talk about environment and climate, is crucial to build adaptation politics that would be that are efficient. Thank you.
Troisième priorité.
Third priority, knowledge. Knowledge is what guides us. Françoise, are you our guide, or are we in the obscurity when it comes to this issues? So we need your light. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So what Cities has done was to ask a number of questions to scientists, questions that would really take them out of their comfort zone. Why? Because the IPCC gave us a few elements of understanding of what's happening with climate change, how to describe risks, how to anticipate consequences, etc. But today, we need to go further. It's not only about understanding the causes. We need to be able to anticipate the impact. Over 3 centimeters that we're expecting for 2050 will give us an idea of what we can expect. It means that with all the data that we have, we can't just do an average, a global average with all the data that we have. We need to have more specific regional data. And one of the priorities of the CITES program is to recall the need to develop observations on the local level. So that requires investment. And once we get the data, then we need to be able to understand a few scenarios of where we can explore scientific approaches, but also social and human science. Because if we want solutions, we need to be able to build together, as it's been said, with different perspectives. And this interdisciplinary work goes even further because it's not only scientists that need to be called around the table, but they need to also be talking with local authorities, with decision makers. And good politics and good policies around this can only come up from that type of collaboration. And then informing decision makers is important, but it's also very important to inform the population, the citizens. And this communication work is not easy. For many scientists, this is a new discipline that they need, a new skill that they need to acquire. So they have an expertise in a field, but they need to learn how to explain that expertise. So who do we work with? Well, we need to work with politicians. I think it's crucial that we work with them to implement solutions tomorrow. In my opinion, cities was a remarkable project because it brought together knowledge, but also know-how. So everybody's know-how was brought to the table and made it possible for us to see the state of things and to also act. Another project that is inspired by cities, the IPBES, Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Service, can also allow us to go further. Thank you.
Merci, Françoise.
Thank you, Françoise. ACT. Today in France, we have witnessed the alarming sea rising effects, and I think, Mr. Minister, you were in visits. You talked about creativity when it comes to financing as well, to help those cities to prepare and implement the adaptation and mitigation strategies. And this is what Ulrike will talk. I wonder if people are still surprised to find someone from the insurance background at this table, but it's obvious that for us, the issues of the impact of climate change and coastlines is incredibly important for us. And we often say at the AXA group and among insurance business, that sustainability is the solution for us to be able to do our work well. So that's the reason why I'm here today. And the coastlines, of course, are places where people live, where there's wealth, and where you can see the strongest impact of climate change. First, I'd like to congratulate all the teams for the quality of this report. And I wanted to highlight the proposals on a better financing for coastal resilience. And I wanted to share some of our beliefs from the insurance side. We are afraid that adaptation methods will not get most of the money that is dedicated to climate change. And so we want to make sure that collectively we guarantee enough financing in the right forms, in the right structures for these adaptation measures. And again, we don't want to see the same inequalities between wealthy and more impoverished zones play again like it's been. I don't want to make an ad for AXA, but I do want to speak about ORA, so Ocean Risk and Resilience Islands, which is an organization that works for financing and insuring of the protecting of oceans and coastal resilience. And I wanted to talk about, because you're absolutely right, it has to do with insurance as well. We have our own models as insurers, and they're based on past data, and so they need to be updated constantly. And with OHA, we have an index of coastal risks that we've developed, and that give us better and more precise information for private actors to better understand the vulnerabilities and risks. And then the second action, so we try to push and to communicate around that new tool, that index. And the second topic that we work on with OHA is how to better integrate nature and biodiversity in solutions for improved resilience. These insurance products could be used to develop mangroves and coral reefs. As we know, they take the brunt of the climate impact. But conditions for a better financing of the resilience of coastal cities are quite precise, and they're very well defined in the report. And we've seen that the importance is to be well adapted to the specification of local places. So 3 main recommendations. First, we should not focus on solutions that would only look at coastal cities, but that also look at the whole region, the whole coastal region. We need a sustainable and long-term solutions with a more holistic perspective, which means that we need financing on the long term as well. And so financing actors need to be committed to that as well. Second recommendation, we need a sort of blended finance at the regional, local level to allow cities to access this type of financing. So this type of blended financing with national actors and regional actors, but also intermediaries like development banks, local development banks, and chambers of commerce. So have this type of projects, financing projects that bring to the table different actors. And then third thing, how does this issue of the adaptation of coastal cities, how to make it more attractive for the private sector? And we need to bring up a business case here to show that not doing anything will cost more in the long term than acting now. And for a lot of economic actors, it's not obvious right now today. And I wanted to give you an example. The city of Glasgow has defined 11 priorities until 2050, and they all have been shown to have economic benefits as compared to inactivity or doing nothing. So thank you. I hope I was short enough in my presentation. Thank you so much that in 5 minutes you were able to summarize this advocacy brief that is quite comprehensive. So if you have time, I encourage you to read it. For the media, all these documents will be available. And all the panelists today, as well as the ministers present with us, will be available for interviews after the conference. And we have a roadmap in the One Ocean Summit that was organized in Brest thanks to the initiative of President Macron in 2022, we led to a roadmap that then generated the city's declaration signed by a number of mayors, Bangkok, Oakland, Jakarta, Nice, of course, to name just a few. This roadmap is ongoing. And this collaboration between the Ocean Climate Platform and the French state. So this work is still going on, and I'm particularly happy to see that the city's initiative is scaling up. We built the foundation, and we continue to stabilize this foundation. We're going to Southeast Asia because from all the people we've invited this couple of days, we haven't yet talked about Southeast Asia. So that's what we want to do in 2024. So I'm very happy that the scaling up is happening within the context of cities. And I'm very happy also to see that President Macron has designated Christian Estrosi to chair this correlation that we hope that will gather 1 million of citizens from coastal regions in 2025. So there's 14 months ahead of us, and we'll continue to work together. Ashok, I'll give you the floor. Thank you so much. I think we can give them a round of applause. Can we put the video on the screen again for the people who've joined us?
Switch into English. We said, Olivier, that we'll be bilingual during these 3 days because we have, of course, eminent visitors from abroad, and not only the minister. So we are going to show again the video, and then we'll have a video from the mayor of New Orleans. We'll have a very short session, and thank you very much, with the World Meteorological Organization, l'Organisation Mondiale de la Météorologie, to share with us your instruments and your hopes, I hope, just after the video, and then we'll have our eminent ministers, messieurs les ministres et monsieur l'ancien ministre et maire de la ville de Nice, to launch basically a vision, Olivier, a vision that you shared with all of us and you're sharing with us, bringing ocean poles in the cryosphere and with concrete action. And I thank the Platform Ocean and Climate, la Plateforme Océan Climat, for all the hard work that you have been doing and on which we can move towards UNOC in Nice. On remet la vidéo et ensuite la maire de la Nouvelle-Orléans et une petite séquence avec l'Organisation mondiale de la météo, s'il vous plaît. Nage. C'est mieux.
Sea levels are rising as a direct result of climate change. Half of this is due to melting ice and half to warming oceans, but scientists fear that the irreversible effects of the loss of the cryosphere could lead to much higher levels of rise. By 2050, more than 1 billion people will face increased risks from rising sea levels. In response to the threat, 40 major coastal cities came together at the One Ocean Summit in Brest in 2022 as part of the International Cities program. At the One Planet Polar Summit, the French president announced a new stage in the process. The Ocean Rise and Resilience Coalition will bring together cities from coastal regions and small island states to strengthen knowledge sharing, cooperation between local authorities, and the mobilization of funding. It will continue to grow until the United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice in 2025.
Voilà. I hope, Olivier, you're happy that was your final cut. We would invite our two speakers from the World Organization for Meteorology to, maybe we'll do a TED, it's not Davos actually, because Davos you have seats, and since the table is fixed, we'll have a TED Talk right now, a TED Talk format, if I may. So we wanted to share with you, we wanted you to share with us, some insights on the instruments that you would have to share with us. You have only 2.5 minutes, but each of you to share with us, and then we listen to the vision, the insights for the future that we can build with the government of France, with the city of Nice, and we have our eminent minister from India. He has ocean, poles, and science in his portfolio, 9 coastal states, 7,500 kilometers of coastal regions under his authority, and so that gives us, I think, wings towards Nice. But the floor is yours on the instruments of the World Meteorological Organization. I'll give you my mic.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to briefly represent the World Meteorological Organization and its commitment to addressing the challenges of melting ice around the globe and the rise of the sea level. As you know, WMO was an active participant at the One Ocean Summit last year and has expressed its commitment to oceans. And in its role as an intergovernmental organization with 193 members around the globe, sea level rise is a concern, an existential concern of many of our members, either small islands or least developed countries or developed countries with long coastal lines. The focus on monitoring and prediction on weather, climate, and environment of WMO is extending nowadays on the effects of melting cryosphere on coastal lines, on the sea level rise. And this has been expressed recently this summer at the 19th World Meteorological Congress with the re-establishment of the Polar and High Mountain Panel of the Executive Council, and Roar here on the podium is one of the co-chairs, that has an increased focus on the effects of melting cryosphere around the globe and the impacts on coastal regions, whether in high latitudes or low latitudes. And globally, it's committed to strengthen the research and the transfer of research results into services, and regionally in developing specific services that address the unprecedented demand for authoritative information for resilience, mitigation, and adaptation.
Thank you.
Maybe
I don't think you're not alarming us enough on the threat which we are facing, but maybe that'll be your role, because that was the idea as well. The weather is not good. Actually, the weather is very bad for all these coastal regions and cities. And if we are here in a very positive way to construct and build up this new coalition, is because the weather is very bad. You have instruments, as you were saying. You are, if I may so, Madame Cryosphère. You told me yesterday that you have here also Mr. Hydrosphère, which is in the World Meteorological Organization. My question here, maybe you can answer, is how do you work together, Cryosphère and Hydrosphère? I mean, as far as governments are concerned, and non-specialists that we are, how do we bring this together? And Olivier Porte d'Arvor and the whole team here have brought Cryosphère and poles and oceans together. And this morning is that. How do you work bringing Hydrosphère and Cryosphère in the instruments that you are sharing with the countries, asking you some help to understand, and especially as Françoise Gale is working on that, from science to policy, that platform, but also ocean and pole sustainability. How do you address that?
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to address that. So what the World Meteorological Organization and the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services are doing is to integrate all the different spheres, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the cryosphere, the oceans, the land, into what we called Earth system models, so that we can look at all the different spheres and the interactions between them. And we try to integrate the new research and development into those models so that and the decision makers and the end users can take advantage of all the new results that science are coming up with. I could try to illustrate that with an example. We will experience, as you all know, increased sea levels, and we will in the future experience more extreme weather events, whether that be hurricanes or extreme precipitation events or other types of events. Through the tools that we are now developing, we are able to analyze the compound effects of both sea level rise and these extreme weather events. So we are making the tools to make the analysis and to make the decision makers aware of what's going to happen. So we have a couple of challenges. One is that the decision makers need to take action based on that knowledge. And the other one is that many of the populations that are most vulnerable to sea level rise can be found in the small island developing states and the least developed countries. So we as a global community has an obligation to make sure that these communities also get the results and the tools they need to act. So the World Meteorological Organizations, together with other UN organizations and international organizations, are setting up an infrastructure for this. One of them is the Early Warnings for All initiative, taken by the UN Secretary General Guterres last year. Another one is called CRUISE, Climate Risk and Early Warning Systems, which is heavily supported by many countries, including France.
Yes, on behalf of Romain, my compare for this sequence, when will it be ready? When the tool will be ready? June 25 would be ideal.
Okay, so this is a tool which is supported by the European Union, the development of it. There will be a pilot in 2025, but I cannot promise an operational system in 25.
Okay, a pilot is good. Thank you. I think we can give them a big round of applause. It's not very easy. Thank you very much. Thank you for setting the stage. We'll invite now the mayor of New Orleans, while I invite our honorable mayors and mayor, minister, you were a former minister of French government, and ministers and Ambassador Olivier Poivre d'Arvor, ministre plénipotentiaire as well, to join. We'll invite the mayor of New Orleans while we are shifting plateaus. Thank you.
The threat of sea level rise creates a multitude of risks for the city of New Orleans and our surrounding areas, including wetland loss, inland flooding, and increased subsidence. If the current trend holds, New Orleans will be a literal coastal city within the next 50 years with no protective land barriers. However, the main threat is inland flooding due to the more intense and frequent rainfalls. To combat inland flooding, reinforcing and creating sustainable infrastructure is essential. This is being accomplished through major efforts of stormwater management as well as green infrastructure improvements and enhancements throughout the city of New Orleans. Green infrastructure is being used to address localized flooding and store rainfall in large volumes as the peak of the storms. We currently have about $150 million in hazard mitigation grant program funding and $141 million in national disaster resilience funding to begin addressing these critical issues. We will continue to leverage federal investments as well as state investments and local as it relates to improving our infrastructure for large-scale resilience and to fight back against climate change. The time is now.
Time is now for the sharing of your vision, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Excellency. Merci beaucoup. Monsieur le maire.
Thank you very much. Mayor, please, if you want to start, and don't worry, you can speak French. There will be interpretation. Right. First of all, I would like to thank you, Romain Troublé, for setting the scene so well earlier on and for explaining what is at stake so well. And after what we've heard from the scientists and researchers that have talked previously, and my colleague, the mayor of New Orleans, and we know that she was hit very seriously recently by these extreme events. And we're all here to explain that if we do not act now, it will be too late in 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years, because we will have accumulated too many delays. And this cities initiative is a fantastic one because it puts at disposal a great database, because for us mayors, we are not scientists, and if we don't have the help of the scientists to shed light on all these issues, and the states and private partners such as AXA to support us, I'm just giving one example here, and I'm sitting next to the Minister Christophe Béchu, my friend that I'd like to greet, who set up a green fund. Well, apart from that, I have an observatory that is famous in the whole world, the Nice Côte d'Azur Observatory, which is also located in the Concordia base in the South Pole and in other regions, that has provided me with a satellite map of all the red areas, these islands of heat. And we carried out analysis in this field in my own city a few years ago. Well, we must show courage amongst politicians. And I know that there is a great deal of opposition to my actions, and sometimes I'm really very harshly criticized. But thanks to this map, it is possible to understand, and I understood that we built a conference hall of 75 square meters on the river 70 years ago, and other buildings, and that if I did not decide to destroy them and to replace them with an urban green park and green area, we were going to have a disaster. So, of course, it costs a lot of money, 160 million euros. And if I ask the minister for this amount of money, I don't know if I'm going to get it. If I turn towards AXA, I don't know whether they will be able to give me the money either. And if I ask the banks to give me a loan, I'm not sure they're going to accept. And there is the rules of the Ministry of Finance in France. And they say if we exceed 15 years to pay back the debt, they will forbid us to have any additional funding and will receive a warning. So this is the situation in France, in our country. And if I look at other countries in the world and other local governments, and if they want to take initiatives, of course, if you want to defend a small island with some bears in your small region, and you can't do it alone, you can't save the planet alone. So you need a coalition with governors, mayors, etc., that represent about 1 billion people in the world. And it's only if we combine our efforts that we will succeed together. Now, of course, after New York in 2017 and Lisbon in 2022, we'll welcome in Nice the third One Ocean Summit, and I would like to thank the United Nations for their trust, and the President of the French Republic and the President of the Republic of Costa Rica are also to be thanked, and I would like to thank our Ambassador Olivier Poivre d'Arvor for supporting the initiative of the French president in the UN and to entrust me as well for creating this coalition. Now we have 18 months in front of us to gather together all these coastal cities and regions so that the coalition is as wide as possible. Now, of course, each city is unique, but the ocean is the same for everybody. And for 1 billion people now, it's like the sword of Damocles that is above them, is threatening them directly. I'm not going to repeat what we all know, which is that our ocean is sick because of human beings, and it's a time bomb, a climate bomb, threatening biodiversity and the climate. We've seen images of desolation, the Ciarán storm, the cyclone is in Acapulco as well, and Florence, the Twin City, was hit also a few days ago. We are racing against the clock. We have to adapt or suffer, which was what you said, dear Fabrice Bernard, a minute ago. We need to choose our future rather than having our future imposed on us. Now, these extreme meteorological events, the rise of the seas, the disappearance of whole ecosystems are the consequence of one single problem. The ocean is warming up, and it is warming up quickly. And if we understand that all this is going to really become worse, it's like the butterfly effect. And I believe that it's a symbol that this coalition is launched in this framework. There are 6 Olympic pools that are melting in Greenland every second, and if all the ice melted, the ocean would rise by 6 or 7 meters, with billions of lives that would be upset, with the death of small island states, and well, they would be the victims of a climate change that they are not really contributing to. So it's not just a disaster scenario, it's what we might expect. The international community has not seen that the rise of the oceans was a time bomb, a grenade that was ready to explode. And we need to catch up now, because the Paris agreements and all the other agreements have not been enough. And I would like to welcome the initiatives of President Macron, who is ready to make progress with the exceptional trust that he has shown to me. And I think that this dimension, this multilateral dimension, is something we need to believe into. It's not only a conversation between states, but men and women that we need to launch. People see that the oceans are changing, that the storms are becoming more frequent. And dear Christophe, dear Minister, we should not give up. We are trying to find solutions. We are trying to protect our populations. Small island states, coastal cities and regions are in the front line of this climate change. We're also the first to be able to take action, and we have a lot of experiences and knowledge to share. Now, of course, I met the governor of Alexandria some time ago, and we know that in the Mediterranean regions we'll be the first to be drowned if we don't do anything. And there are many other mayors, the mayor of Kanto in Vietnam, another mayor in Japan that I met recently, the mayor of Montreal, and others that are faced up with the same problem, which is at the heart of the Ocean Rise and Resilience, which aims at gathering together men and women that work in the field. We don't know the ocean so well. The moon is better mapped than the deep sea. So it's urgent to get engaged. We need to know about the oceans before curing it. You can't cure something that you don't know. We have to gather together data, such as the data that the Observatory of Villefranche-sur-Mer near Nice is collecting. It's a world reference in this field. We need to make the data accessible, free of charge, to all the cities of the coalition, and the progress made by cities is already a very important starting point for us. But beyond the scientific expertise, we can share other things, the tools that were presented, space tools that were presented last year in Nice with CNRS that have a great potential in preventing risks and in the field of pollution, and we need to share feedback and funding methods. We need to imagine everything, in fact. We need to have a solidarity between the poorest and the richest countries in terms of financial resources. We need to think about maybe a mechanism to put together, to pool private and public funds to help the least developed countries to finance their adaptation efforts. As I often say, we will not be able to reach any achievement alone. We need to be working together. Solidarity will be the key to success. This coalition is an exceptional opportunity. We'll repair the world by curing the oceans. We will do that through solidarity, sharing, step by step. And I would like to call all the cities, all the coastal regions, all the small island states to join us. Today, we are symbolically starting the path to Nice in 2025. It will be a historic conference because it will lead to the signature of this great international compact on the oceans that we've been waiting for so long, and also because for the first time the coastal cities and regions of the world will have a specific summit for themselves, which was not the case in New York or in Lisbon. So it will be an opportunity of making this coalition a lasting one, so that coastal cities and regions and small island states meet together frequently and make progress together side by side with the states, because the states can sign, hundreds of states can sign an agreement for the planet together. But if we don't do that together amongst coastal cities and states, and if I quote Jean Monnet, who knew about institutions, nothing is possible without human beings, and nothing will last without the institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and President, for your strong commitment from the very beginning, making sure that Nice would be selected, and every day a new idea arise, and this was essential for this conference. This coalition, as you said, will cover more than 1 billion people. We need to include more than 1 billion inhabitants. So this meeting will take place just before the conference, probably the 7th of June, and will include all the governors, elected representatives, so as to include all the small island states, that for some of them include less people than a lot of cities we are mentioning. If you think of India, of course, but the south of Bangladesh as well, they will be represented by their governors or mayors, depending on the organization of the local authorities. Mr. Minister, we are deeply honored to have you with us today. The relationship between India and France are extremely close, as was recalled by Mr. Moody on the 14th of July when he came to France, discussing global issues, but of course climate, oceans. For us, you are an essential partner for these United Nations partnerships. We are going to need you, your expertise. We have close and fruitful ocean-related discussions, so thank you so much much for being here with us today. Thank you for your commitment. You will be with us with Mr. President of France tomorrow for the high-level gathering. Everyone is joining this call. I hope India will be able, through your participation, to join. Australia and China just answered to this call. So thank you. Thank you so much for being here. You are a significant, very high-level ministry. You are in charge of sciences. That is very important. And I would like to give you, and Earth, I would like to give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Namaskar. The French Minister for Ecological Territorial Cohesion, Mr. Christophe Béchu, the Mayor of Nice, Christian Estrosi, and Ambassador Oliver Dovre, and all the participants, scientists, all the experts, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I am grateful and I express my appreciation to Minister Christophe Béchu and Christian Estrosi, the Mayor of Nice, for the invitation to this special Ocean Rise Coalition Vision launch. With the United Nations Ocean Conference scheduled to be hosted in Nice in 2025, a clearer strategy to address the global challenges like the sea level rise is required to be created through numerous events and technical sessions that are being organized in advance of the conference. And I could see the way this conference is being conducted. I'm very hopeful that we are going into the right direction. My great appreciation also goes to all the participants today for presenting and enriching us on various issues and future strategies related to adopting coastal cities and regions to sea level rise. Above all, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to everyone who could attend the meeting today and make it a successful event. As we are aware, the IPCC's report estimates a rise in global sea level by 2100 of 41 centimeter and can shoot up to 84 centimeter for the high emission scenario that could have severe impacts on coastal areas, ecosystems, and communities. It is prime time for all of us to create adaptation strategies for cities and vulnerable regions impacted by the sea level rise. There is urgent need to provide policy guidelines and strategy for the international community based on scientific evidence. Building on this issue, the Ocean Rise and Resilience Coalition would play a pivotal role in increasing scientific cooperation amongst partners and help in combating global warming and reduce risk, particularly those which are affecting coastal ecosystems and populations. India is fully aware of the challenges and opportunities that oceans represent, from undertaking sustainable fisheries to prevention and control of marine litter and plastic pollution, from affordable renewable energy to ecotourism and early warning systems for disaster risk reduction and management, building resilience and adaptation to climate change. Government of India's vision of New India by 2030 highlighted the blue economy as the sixth dimension of this vision. India is a strong proponent of blue growth as part of the long-term strategy to support sustainable growth in maritime sectors and marine life. India is in the process of bringing out its own comprehensive blue economy policy framework, which aims to cover the coastal economy, tourism, marine fishery, technology, skill development, shipping, deep sea mining, and capacity building holistically. The policy titled National Policy for India's Blue Economy is to guide and achieve synergy in the maritime domain for harnessing the true potential of the blue economy while protecting the livelihood of those who depend on it. It emphasizes the holistic development and growth of India's economy. The ocean is an economic engine that secures lives and livelihoods around the world. The ocean resources are estimated to be worth, according to some calculation, $24 trillion, which is at a tremendous risk today due to local stresses such as habitat destruction, overfishing, and pollution, as well as global phenomena such as rapid and unprecedented changes in ocean temperature resulting from climate change and increased acidity levels. With this background, India identified blue or ocean-based economy as a thematic priority under the Environment and Climate Sustainability Working Group as the nation took up the matter of leading G20 presidency this year. We witnessed the collective resolve of G20 leaders to conserve, protect, and restore and sustainably use the world's ocean, marine ecosystems, and adopted the high-level principles for a sustainable and resilient blue ocean-based economy that showcases the power of global collaboration in saving our oceans. International cooperation on oceans is critical, with emphasis on comprehensive coastal and marine spatial planning that could provide avenues for North-South collaboration in a constructive manner to utilize oceans' vast resources. The launching of the Ocean Rise and Resilience has paved way in structuring its members' actions around scientific cooperation, decentralized cooperation between local authorities, and the mobilization of multilateral and private funding to adopt the challenge of rising sea levels and in bringing the gaps among cities, coastal regions, and small island developing states threatened by the risk of submersion, with the aim of representing 1 billion citizens living in these vulnerable territories. We have committed to increasing non-fossil energy capacity to 500 gigawatts, that is 50% of India's energy requirements from renewable sources in the coming decade, to reduce carbon intensity by 45% and reduce total projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons by 2030. As you all are aware, India has committed to net zero emissions by 2070. To fulfill these commitments, we are boosting green energy production capacity through wind, solar, and hydro projects, in addition to reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. We have embarked on one of the most ambitious clean energy transition in the world by launching the National Green Hydrogen Mission, with the objective to decarbonize major sectors of India's economy. A lot has been achieved, yet we have a long journey to cover. I'm very grateful that this coalition will open new doors of collaboration to protect our oceans and marine ecosystems. I express my gratitude for convening this highly interesting session today, and I also look forward to meaningful outcomes towards a successful UN Ocean Conference in 2025. And as a Minister in charge for the subject related to what we are discussing, important matters today, I would like to assure full cooperation from India, and we would be partner in this endeavor. After all, we are all working together for the future of our own planet. So the responsibility that we share, we will discharge, and with a holistic approach, India will extend full cooperation, and my best wishes to the future endeavors and to all the organizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honourable Minister. So Mr. Béchu will bring this very good news coming from your great country, from India, to the French President. You are going to meet tomorrow, and your help will be crucial for, for this coalition, because the scale of the Indian cities. I don't know if the government has the capacity to ask every mayor of big cities in India to join, but we will love that so much. Thank you. And maintenant, j'ai le plaisir de...
It is now my pleasure to give the floor to the person who is at home here with Ms. Retailleau at the Museum of Natural History. He will be the one passing on this topic, working with Mr. Etrosi on oceans, and he's here today represent in his capacity as a minister for the ecological transition, Mr. Béchu. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Minister and President, Honorable Minister Hidichu.
Just for you. Thank you for being here. When we are talking about build a coalition, a partnership of 1 billion inhabitants, for you it's not a concept. It's the size of your country. And so it seems to be ambitious for us as European and French. But I know how huge are your issues. At the end of July, in Chennai, for the G20, we were Minister of the Ecology of the 20 wealthiest countries together. And it was disappointing as final declaration about global warming, but not about biodiversity and fight against plastic pollution. And with the choice to participate as this summit, with your choice as being here for the launch of this coalition, you underline how ambitious we have to be together on this subject. In the last months, with the COP15, with the BBNG treaty, we have realized some great progress, but there is so much to do in front of us, and so many bets, and we have to be together. So yes. Thank you really for being here. Mesdames et messieurs,
ladies and gentlemen, we can all read reports, IPCC reports, IPBES reports, UN reports. We can compile, read, hear the whistleblowers, read the report from the platforms, and I pay tribute to Mr. Romain Roulet today. We can read the figures speaking about centimeters that make us think of the 84 or 48 centimeters in the future. But when we speak about climate change, we speak about 1 degree, 0.5 for October, etc., etc. Figures don't say it all. Figures don't express the deep change looming, because we've never been faced to such a fast path of change in the past. So a lot of people might think that it's not much, but the sea level rise in the future could lead to 20 to 30 times more climate catastrophe than in the past. We're speaking about storms, about change on the coastline, about consequences on biodiversity, because by weakening the ocean, we are weakening everything that we need to combat other climate change consequences we are being faced with. In 5 days in Nairobi will take place the negotiations on combating plastic pollution. And if we don't act, by 2060, there will be more plastic than fishes in the ocean. The 6 continents we're speaking about are just making the situation worse, having dire consequences and accumulating and adding to the other terrible consequences. So launching with you our coalition today is meaningful.
And as Christian Estrosi said, it means that we want to combine the strength of territories, of countries, because it's not all a matter of diplomats and governments. We need to rely on the everyday stakeholders, people who are involved every day. And when we say, okay, either we can fight, either we can anticipate, or we can have these things imposed on us, we need to have the vision of what is going to happen at local level. But we need to have policies that are based on people's everyday lives, because whether you have a higher seawall or not depends very much on what there is in the local community and the human environment. Now, in the majority of cases, it's best to not to fight against nature, because we are going through times that are the result of all the aggressions that nature had to undergo in the past. So we need to see what we can do at local level and rely on local stakeholders. 1 billion of people on the earth, 28% of mankind lives at less than 10 meters higher than the sea level. Now, this is a fact. And when I say less than 10 meters, of course, it can be even far less than 10 meters. And it tells you a lot about what is at stake from the financial and social point of view, and all we have to do now to cope with this situation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when you consider the situation in France, we are trying to build up and to design a strategy, a policy that will help us to cope with a worsening of climate disruption. And indeed, it means that we need to change the way of doing things. No insurance company, no insurance system can help us to cope with the situation. We have to look into what the public sector and the private sector can do. When you look at the coastline in France, we know that the coastal retreat, the humidity level in housing will mean that there'll be some very dramatic consequences. And so we have, of course, to plan ahead and have solidarity systems in place, but we need to make sure that there is social justice in the way we deal with these situations. Now, when you look around, you come to realize that the national and international solidarity mechanisms have to be revisited. You can't just look at knowledge on the one hand, what you can do to mobilize the territories and the financial systems that will underpin the policy we put in place. So before, by 2025, of course, we'll have to come up with an armamentarium of solutions. They will be presented in Nice during the UNOC, the United Nations Ocean Conference, in June 2025. But of course, in the meantime, we have to mobilize everyone, and we have to work, all of us, together. And President Estrosi will be, of course, at the helm. We will, of course, rely on our diplomacy, our diplomatic network, the countries with which we work, but we will also call upon the foundations and the various NGOs so that we can, all of us, fight together. Thank you very much for your attendance today and for everything we're going to do together in the future. Now, thank you for your support. Now, Christian, you know that we are supporting you fully from the 9th of November until the 7th of June. Our team will be with you alongside your teams. Thank you very much, Minister Béchu, for your support and what you are going to do alongside the French President of the Republic, President Macron. Thank you very much, Minister, for your support in your continent, in your country, and everything you are going to do in order to get the message across in the Pacific, in the South Asia region, because of course this is the remit, a specific remit for India, and you do, of course, you will help us to convince large cities, whether in Indonesia or in China, to highlight the threats for large Chinese harbors. We know that they're going to be subject to sea level rise. So you will help us to convince them that it's important to take action. Now, the Platform Ocean Climate, POC, is also part of the intangible tools we have. They support the Tara expeditions, for instance. The Director General is with us today. And Tara is part and parcel of the challenges for the Arctic region. There's also the support from the French government with France 2030. Now, the POC platform was able to start working on these issues a long time ago. All we do, of course, is try and bring together as many people as we can around the table. So I'd like to thank the various partners of the CITES organization. It was born in Brest, in the city of Brest in France, and I think it is also aligned with President Macron's vision. He took the initiative for France, so that indeed the oceans are taken into account, and not only from the point of view of exploiting the oceans. And so we thank you, Minister, for highlighting this vision that was born in the city of Brest last year with this first initiative, so that we contributed to the creation of this large UN conference on ocean. And it brings to mind a quotation by Paul-Émile Victor. Now, we were told that it is impossible to have a French city picked again for such a large conference after Brest. But it brings to mind what Paul-Émile Victor used to say. He used to say that there's nothing in order to succeed, you need to first make the attempt of succeeding. So with you, Minister, with you, President Estrosi, I think we can hope for success Thank you very much to all of you.